question?
I'll answer the question. You want answers?
I think I'm entitled.
You want answers?
I want the truth!
You can't handle the truth.
Colonel Jessup, did you order the Code Red?
You don't have to answer that question.
I'll answer the question. You want answers?
I think I'm entitled.
You want answers?
I want the truth!
You can't handle the truth.
Colonel Jessup, did you order the Code Red?
You don't have to answer that question.
I'll answer the question. You want answers?
I think I'm entitled.
You want answers?
I want the truth!
You can't handle the truth.
Colonel Jessup, did you order the Code Red?
You don't have to answer that question.
I'll answer the question. You want answers?
I think I'm entitled.
You want answers?
I want the truth!
You can't handle the truth.
Colonel Jessup, did you order the Code Red?
You don't have to answer that question.
I'll answer the question. You want answers?
I think I'm entitled.
You want answers?
I want the truth!
You can't handle the truth.
Colonel Jessup, did you order the Code Red?
You don't have to answer that question.
I'll answer the question. You want answers?
I think I'm entitled.
You want answers?
I want the truth!
You can't handle the truth.
Peace. What's good? What's good? What's good? What's good? Ha ha. We did it. We got through this weekend. I know I said I was supposed to come on the other day at 6 o'clock, but I couldn't do it. Couldn't get out the bed. Couldn't get out of the bed. Had a long weekend. Did maybe about five parties. So it was a long weekend. But I'm ready today because, the Knicks is coming on tonight. So that's why I'm getting this done early so that I can watch the Knicks game and see what they're doing, see what's going on. They're going to do it. They're going to do it this year. You know, a lot of people have been waiting for a long time to see that championship thing go down in our favor. So it's going to be nice. It's going to be really, really nice. I'm glad that I'm here to see it, to finally see it. And it's going to be a great thing. It's going to be a great thing for New York. So New York, stand up, stand up, stand up. Okay, let's see who's here first. Probably going to wait for a minute to see people come in. Oh, Princess is here. Of course, my moderator, Riri, is in the building always. And Princess is here. So I'm gonna give it a little while longer and see who comes in, because it's gonna actually be a great show. I'm basically kind of piggybacking over the Scoreboard Keepers show because he showed a show the other day, and it was so, to me, it was funny because, I've been saying these things for the longest, And so now, now all of the proof is coming. And I thought about that the other day. I thought about it. I said, well, now these people, these trollers, these people, liars, all of these people, they're gonna be really upset when they realize that all of these years that they've been quoting the lie, that it's gonna be hard for them to change back to, or not even back, but change their lives. Like it's gonna be really, really hard for them. And then so now you gotta understand that, okay, so all of these people that's just running with this lie, and all these people that's running with this fake history, this fake documentation and things, when it all comes out and it's all proven that it's a lie, what are they going to do? How are they going to change their story back to say, oh no, well, we were always this, we were always that? It's going to be really, 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 really funny to see that. Another thing that I wanted to say on my show today is that, so a lot of things that were documented later on in the years, not in the creation, but later on in the years, when they were documented, it had already changed to the beginning of the lie. So what I mean by that is that, one thing the ref from Scoreboard showed was that type of party we never would have attended. We never would have went to that kind of a party. That party would have been what we had called even back then, a nerd party. That would have been a nerd party, and we wouldn't have got caught in a nerd party. And so that's one thing that I'm going to establish today. What was the difference between what we were doing and when the nerd status came into play? Also, I've been saying it for years, but I'm going to basically demonstrate who really messed up hip hop. And also, one of the things that I want to show is that, so when breakdance was created, it was created for the break in a record. And what the break is when all the instruments come out of the song and just the drums have a solo part. That was called the break. And so when break dancing was created, it was concentrated on this break in the record. That's what it was concentrated, and that's why it was called break dancing. So as time went by, what was happening was these creators of us creators of the break dance started getting older. We started, getting into that want to see female stage. We were getting curious now. We wanted to smell some of that perfume. We wanted to dress for these women. So as we got older, we kind of stopped doing competition and stopped, battling and all of that. So it became more or less something that we were giving to the younger kids. Just like with burning, the burners would gradually go up, and they weren't necessarily trying to burn. They were really basically trying to dance and trying to, get with women, because a lot of this stuff, you got to understand, we were kids, right? And so everybody knows when you're really, really young, you're not really concentrated on girls. If you're a male, you're not really concentrated on girls. But now you like girls, but it's not really concentrated. So as we got older, like I said, we started liking girls, and we started wanting to be with girls. We wanted to dance with girls, and we wanted to kiss girls, and we wanted to do all this stuff. So we basically left that breakdancing part of it to the younger generation. And that's what happened. So watching that graffiti rock the other day had me cracking up. I laughed so hard because I actually saw the difference. I saw the difference. I saw when it became that. I saw when it became from the younger kids to the teenage kids. And that transition was hard to watch. I'm going to just keep it 100. It was hard to watch because one of the things that I am 100% sure of, and I've said it thousands of times, is what they did after us was not breakdancing. It was not. If anybody says that that's breakdancing, they just don't understand. And one of the things that is true, 100% true, is the reason why they couldn't breakdance is because they didn't have it inside of them. They didn't have that kind of soul and that kind of charisma that we have. And that's just 100%. So one of the things that I was looking at on Graffiti Rock was the way they tried to talk, the way they tried to look, and the fashion and the way they posed. Now, all of that I saw was someone looking at someone and trying to be like that person. And that's the difference between what we were doing. What we were doing was actually originating from us. So the way we danced, the way we talk, the way we were originating it, we were we were creating it at the same time. We were creating it. So the things that we did, yes, we would look at Black Willie dancing, or we would look at some of the gangsters dressing, and we would look like that. But what we did was we tried to get original with it. So if I saw someone, a gangster, with maybe a black suede pocket shirt, sweater, whatever, I would try to maybe get a blue one or a gray one, and it would be, my unique color that somebody I wouldn't have seen. And that to us, that's what it was. And so maybe if the gangster put it together with some kind of other slacks or something, we would make sure, and they might have had some gaiters on or something. We might have did it with a pair of AJs and a pair of British Walkers, maybe something like this. See, we might have wore something this color blue. Okay, so it's not a regular dark blue or anything. And so we would have wore that, and then that would have been somewhat original to what we would have been rocking. So let's look at some of the things, right? We first and foremost, let's go and I always try to say when things were released and when they were created. So we know that hip hop was created in 70 and released in 71. So people don't know that Rudolph Dacier and Adolf Dacier were brothers. They were brothers from Germany. And people don't understand that they're the ones that created Adidas and Pumas. They were brothers. And at the same time, one created the Puma and one created the actual Adidas. Now, popular to disbelief, let's look at it. This was the first Puma, I believe. Yes, this was the first. No, this is the first Adidas. This was the first Adidas. No, this was the first Puma. I apologize. This is the first Puma. And if you see those cleats on the bottom, that was the first Puma. Then you look at the first Adidas. Now, we're talking about 1938. We're talking about 1938. So the version of the Puma that we know was the Clyde version. And everybody know who Walt Clyde Frazier was. And at that point, that was 1973. And that's when it became something suede for us. Now, I'm saying this and I'm telling you guys this because I want you to look at the timeline. All right. I want you to look at the timeline. Okay. Here we go. The Superstar sneaker, Adidas, a low top shoe featuring a distinct rubber shell toe designed to protect players' feet. It was an immediate sensation, famously worn by over 75% of NBA players. Okay, and that's in 1973. In 1978, Adidas released the Jabbar version from Kareem Abdul-Jabbar in 1978. Okay. 1952, Puma introduced the Super Atom. Okay. This was a major advancement in the sport as it was first football boot equipped with revolutionary screw-in studs. 1968, Puma shifted its focus towards lifestyle and general athletic markets, releasing the Crack, which later evolved into the ironic Puma Suede. Okay, so now remember these dates. Remember these dates because these dates are very, very important. Okay. Okay, we did that, right? We showed that. What about this? Okay. Adidas made its first official entry into the basketball market in 1968 with the release of two sneakers, the low-top Super Grip and the high-top Companion, the Pro model. Okay. Okay. And then look, read this. See, because this is going to prove a lot of things. Now, the reason why I'm showing you these things is because, well, hold on. Let me go back. Hold on. Let me go back. Okay, let me go back. Okay, so now, remember when I was telling you about how the first sneaker Adidas came about? So these pictures that I'm showing you are from the direct company. So each thing that we got and we were coming directly from Germany to the stores in America. So in 1970, 1971, 73, we had these things that just came out. Like they weren't a year old, they weren't months old, they were just coming out. And so this is the connection of how other people got them. So if you notice that people start wearing, not people, you know who I'm talking about. you know. You know who I'm talking about. They started wearing them in like 82, 83, and 84. So by that time, they were whack to us. They really were. But the catch is this. each time something comes out, right? That first price, that first original price is going to be up there. And when they sell a lot of amounts of volume, then what they do is they stop distributing and stop getting them made wherever they originated at, and then they go to cheaper countries like Vietnam. Like, hold on, I even wrote it down. Okay, Vietnam, Asia, China, Indonesia, and India. So now, if they were paying $1 to get each one made, they can go to India or somewhere, China, and get them made for 35 cents or something like that. So of course they're cheaper. They're not the brand solid brand that they were when they first came out and when they were getting made in their original spot. They're not like that. So always know there's store chains that downgrade down, right? So let's say that we got our Adidas from, just say, Army and Navy store. And they come straight from Germany. When they come straight from Germany, they have real leather, number one, suede inside, leather on the outside. As soon as you open the box, you smell the leather. But the laces are thin laces. Let me see. Yeah, I could just show you something like this. Okay, you see how the laces are? You see? They're thin. They're thin laces, right? So, because somewhere else, China or wherever did it, that's where the fat laces came about. So if we were paying at the time that we got the sneakers $25 or whatever in the 70s, by the time the Chinese people made it, they did a cheaper shoe and maybe it was $35. Because remember, in the 80s, Adidas was $32 to get a pair of Adidas, $32. Pumas, same thing. So now it was easy access for people to get these products, these products. You could go to Fordham Road. You could go to Delancey Street. You could go to All Simpson Street. You could go to all of these places. Freeman Street in the Bronx, right? You could go to Hosiery. And you could purchase these things that were in style back in the 70s. So I was listening to what the girl said on Graffiti Rock, and she looked down and she said, I got Adidas with the fat laces. That came later. That came when and then people started taking the iron and flattening out the laces just so they could have these Chinese laces, and they didn't know. So if you look at the when I say real, meaning the real cool people, they didn't do those kind of things. They didn't. And just like the Kango, now when we were rocking, I think the Kango, what year did the Kango come out? I had that written down as well. Okay, the first Kango hat was in 1938. We all know that, right? The first real Kango was in 1954. All right, so there was a difference. It was a different style of a hat. Well, I got one around here somewhere, but I'll show it to you later. But we had the tweed hat, and that was the style. And most golfers wore that hat, the beret type of hat. It was for golfers. So we had to go to places like this. Ooh, I'm glad I saved that. Hold on. I'm glad I saved that. We had to go to places like that, which is Stetson hats. And once we got them from there, that's where could only get them. You couldn't go to just a regular store and get those Kangos or those Stetson hats or whatever. If you listen to Tramp, she says, "Oh, what's your Stetson hat?" So that was another thing. So by the time this came out, this style Kango, right? That was 1982, 83. So now, remember, 1970, hip-hop was created. 1971, hip-hop was released. So in 82, 83, this hat became somewhat popular. Now, graffiti rock came out in 1984, the first one. I don't know how long it lasted. But by that time, that look is over. That look is over. And LL Cool J brought it back. I don't know. I think he did it in like 85 or something like that. He brought it back. And so my point is, what I'm saying is that a lot of these people that come in to hip hop, they only are able to get our leftovers. And I hate to say it like that, but they're only able to buy it when it done went discounted. When it's done, when it's wore out, okay, it's just wore out, and so that shows a lot of how they take what we leave out and then go with it, right? They go with it. Number two thing was this, and I'm finally so glad the scorekeepers did it. They showed them dancing, or whatever they call it. I don't want to call it dancing. I just call it moving around or whatever. And you saw, that's why I'm so glad that he did the demonstration of me and Young Black dancing, because the beat is so critical. The break beat is so critical on the way you dance. So just say, for instance, while Young Black was dancing and I stopped the record, Black would have to stop dancing. He would have to stop dancing. And he wasn't, if you listen to the record, he wasn't dancing like that during the rest of the part of the record. He started dancing like that when the break came on. So he was break dancing. Now I looked at the video clip that the scorekeeper put on, and they were dancing the whole time. Those kind of moves the whole time. So you could have stopped the record at any time, and they would still be doing those moves. Look at it. Go back and look at it, and listen to the track that they were using, which had all kinds of stuff in it. Like you had the keyboards and synthesizers, it had drums, it had congos, it had bells, percussion, everything. And the whole time they were doing these moves. They were doing these moves like they were just doing these moves. They were, jumping up, and then you could see them trying their best to go down to the floor, or when they came up, try to go a certain way to with their arms or something. And you could see that if you stop the record, they could keep on going because they're not doing it to the beat. They're not doing it to the beat. They're just like, they're just, okay, let's say for instance, you're going to spin, right? You're going to spin on the floor, right? Now, in the middle of that spin, you could stop the music and they'll keep on spinning no matter what, because it's not to the music. So if it's not to the music and if it's not to the break, what is it? Why is it called breakdancing? Just tell me why. It's not to the music and it's not to the break. So what makes it breakdancing? And see, that's where the cosplaying or whatever you want to call it comes in at. Because there's no way that you could say that you're doing it to the break if there's no break. If there's no break, there's just not no break. And you're just playing to the record. You're just doing these moves to the record. So what's hurting these people? And I got to say these people. What's hurting them is now we're talking about it. We're actually confronting and saying, well, look, why is that called breakdancing? And I heard Ref say something, and it made me say, oh my goodness. So he said that breakdancing is not for what we were doing. It's not, I don't know how exactly, don't quote me on how he said it, but what I needed to tell Ref was that's not breakdancing. If you were to take the original breakdance and do it now, no, you probably couldn't, because records don't have a break in them anymore. There's really no such thing as a break in the record. So if you go to an old school jam and you got somebody like me, theater or breakout or Jazzy J is playing these old breaks, then you can have breakdancing. But you can't have a party now with breakdancing because there's no more breaks. So all of that, and then you got to think about it. Now, parties are based on who goes to parties now. If you look at the younger people, they really, unless if they doing the little Harlem shakes and all of that kind of stuff, it has to be they have to be a dancer. The rest of everybody is sitting up against the wall. and looking at each other. That's what the party is now. And I know I DJ. I DJ every weekend. I DJ during the week. I DJ parties. And I see it. The only time people dance is if you put maybe a old school joint on there, or like when you put the trap music, they have a certain, but they're not basically dancing together. See, the togetherness is gone. The togetherness is gone. Slow dancing is gone. It's finished. Break dancing is gone. It's finished. And so that's what people don't realize. And now I'm going to tell you, I'm going to keep it 100. When you look at them doing break dance now, right? When you look at the Olympics and you look at, like, that was that famous pink girl that thought she was breakdancing, and everybody made they had comments for her the whole time. That's what they saw. That's what they get a chance to see. That's what they got a chance to see. Because by the time people could come to parties and go to jams and stuff, breakdancing was already, finished, and this other style of whatever they're doing picked up. So for all those people that say that they took breakdancing again around the world, they didn't. They took what they're doing around the world, but they didn't take breakdance nowhere, because breakdancing basically never, to be honest with you, really never left the Bronx. It never really left the Bronx. It didn't get a chance to go to anywhere else. It went to Manhattan, yes, and somewhat, you could get a sprinkle or two in Brooklyn. But by the time it got to Queens, it wasn't breakdancing anymore. It wasn't. And that's just facts. That's just 100% facts. So y'all can get mad at me all you want, but it's true. Go look back and see. By the 80s, breakdancing was finished. You know that. We all know that. By the 80s, no one was going down and doing breakdances. And I'm going to be honest with you. In my opinion, this is my opinion now. I think the end of real breakdancing probably was 74. And why I say 74 is because in 74, it started being a lot of different projects and a lot of different people were coming. It was no longer, this thing. And in 75, Bambaataa, he started building something, I guess, that let everybody in. And I mean, like, it let everybody in, because you have to realize at that point, it started being a money grab. See, money messes up everything. When you're not doing stuff for fun, for the enjoyment, and you're doing things for money, messes up everything, goes left real quick. So when they started letting everybody see, everybody get a look, then they would go home and see this one move and then practice it. But the whole thing is they didn't take that move and practice it with music. They took that move and just did it. They just did it. And that's why, like I said, that's why it became that. Now, I showed you guys a picture the other day, right? Now, I don't want to be funny. I really don't want to be funny. But look in the picture and look at the heads of people. Look at what they're doing. Look at how they're gathering. And then you see the head of one person. Look at the heads of the people here at the event, and then look at the head of one person. Okay? Now, I'm not trying to be funny. I'm not. But if you go back to the jams, that's basically how it was. You could see a whole gang of us and see 1, 2, 3 Puerto Ricans. And that's just a fact. I'm not saying it because I'm a racist. I'm not saying this because I'm against Puerto Ricans. I'm not saying it. I'm saying that because that's how it gradually grew. And so now, when they weren't there, and then they hear from 80s, then they cannot believe what really happened. They can't, because they never got a chance to see what was really happening. So all they got a chance to see was the newer stuff that happened after the fact. And that's it, which is not a bad thing. It's not. But what makes it bad is that when they decide to say that it's really theirs, they brought it to around the world. What did they bring around the world? Think about it. What did they actually bring around the world? What was it? So we're just talking about breakdancing. We're not talking about DJing. We're not talking about MCing. We're not talking about fashion or other kinds of dancing. We're just talking about what they considered was breakdancing. So a lot of these trolls, you guys, you I don't even think about them anymore. A lot of these trolls, what they do is this, because I heard you say something about that the person is probably pink, right? Now, that doesn't necessarily have to be true. They could be what you call FBA, but like in every culture, you have someone that can't come outside. You have someone that parents think that they're so good that they don't want you messing with the other kids. You ever seen that? You ever seen like some kids that their parents think that they too good to be playing with you, or they'll call us hoodlums, or even though in our cases, a lot of our cases, we are bad, but still. And so those are the kids, those are the ones that we call nerds, and they didn't have a chance to. So they might have saw something. They might have actually saw something. They might have been going home from school, or they might have been, in the windows or anything, and might have saw something. But they weren't there to understand what they saw. And so now the whole time, they might have been with someone that was cool and tell them about it. But yet and still, they weren't there, so they don't know. And so now when they're older, they might have a chance to get in it. And I heard the people talking about, oh, New York, and this, and saying these words that are not whatever. It's because they were not able to hang with the cool crowd. So just like in school, right? You have the cool kids at the lunch table. You have the regular kids at a lunch table, and you have the nerds at one table. Now, the cool kids is acting a fool, doing whatever they want to do, whatever, right? Now, not only do the regular kids, but the nerds see it as well. So that's locked in their memory. They saw that the kids got up and did this dance, or they did with the girl, or whatever. They seen that. Now, they could never do that, but they saw that. So now, as they get older, they'll say what they saw. They'll say that they're from New York. They might even say they're from the Bronx, or they lived in the Bronx. But they were never with the cool kids. And that's it. So now, when the cool kids are saying, oh man, that's not all we did this, and we did that, and we did this, they can't understand that because they never saw the cool kids do that part of it. Y'all get it? You kind of feeling me now? Y'all kind of understand what I'm saying? So the cool kids are now saying, wait, hold on. That was in the lunchroom. But after school, we did this. And then during the day, we did this. And then once we weren't in school, we did this. Now, the cool kids weren't there to witness that. So from what they saw, if you tell them something else, they're going to say no. They didn't. That's not how it was done, because they only know what they saw in the lunchroom. That's all they know is what they saw in the lunchroom. So a lot of these trolls say, yes, New York did this. Yes, New York did that. Yes, we did this or whatever. Because they do not know really what happened in the places that they were really at. So now they see things on the internet. See, this internet is what did a lot of damage as well. See, because that's why if you look at the earlier trolls before we exposed them, they were always talking about a flyer. this flyer was the key to hip hop. So if the date on the flyer said this, that's when it started. Some people, some trolls, some people only know Sugar Hill Gang. And that's rap. And that's when rap became hip hop. That's when it became rap. Because they heard this record on the radio. Now, forget about the tapes. Forget about before the tapes. They only know that. And then they'll say, okay, so if 79 is the Sugar Hill Gang, and this flyer says 77 or 78, 79, then that must be the real. And then, so now they got that in their mind. Oh, you wasn't on this flyer. You didn't do this on this flyer. And then when they realized that, wait a minute, way before the flyers came in existence, we were doing this. So the internet gives them access to those points. And those points are after the fact. And so that was a perfect example of, you saw how he was holding his head and he was standing there and he was like, word, and he was saying these words and just obviously trying to be cool. But that was not him. That was not, he was acting. And that's the difference between us. We didn't act. We just performed. We just did. We just did what we were doing as the way we were doing it. And that's it. So a lot of times these troll guys, these troll people, they're not trolling because they know something. They're not trolling because they want to get something straight. They're not. They're trolling because that's their way into talking with the cool people. You get it? That's their way to go from the nerd table in the lunchroom to the cool table. So they didn't have nothing to talk about in the nerd table. But in the cool table, if they know something, if they know that the cool people, some of the cool people had a Kango, or some of the cool people had Adidas, or some of the cool people had Pumas, when they come over to the cool table and say, well, Pumas, Pumas were this, the people were rocking Pumas, then the cool people say, oh, yeah. But see, these trolls, when they do that, it's guys like Scorekeepers and Truth Savior and all of these Bostetto and Akeem that, like, wait, hold on, no, that's not quite how it goes. And that's what burns them up. They're like, no, we know that they did it like this. We know that they wore it like this. We know that they said word. We know. And that's it. So the problem they have with me, and this is just real, the problem they have with FaZe is this. When I came on the scene and I started telling the truth about what's going on and with the lie, for all the years that they believed in this lie, and here I come that they didn't hear of during the whole lie. I come out as what they thought is nowhere because they were never at the cool table. That's why they didn't know. And they say, no, man, no, FaZe, he's lying. He can't be. They didn't do that. They didn't say that. They didn't wear that. They didn't. It wasn't like that. And that's what the problem is. And so I'm so glad for scorekeepers. I'm so glad for Bustetto, Hakeem, and all of these other, channels and Truth Savior and everything. They get to the actual nitty gritty, to the proof of what I'm saying. And that's why it happens. I watched the other day and I was listening to what they were saying and how they were saying and how they were talking. This one, I just figured out that this person, first of all, is not even from the United States. And they definitely ain't in the Bronx. And they definitely were never at a jam. And they never knew nothing about real hip hop. Never. Only thing they ever knew was they saw flyers. That Source magazine with the 3 on it, with Bam, Herc, and Flash on it. That's the key. Like they got that. That's all hip hop. That's everything. And that's why they go to every hip hop channel. Anything that has to do. Remember, Right On magazine and I forget something. Beat On or something magazine. And you would read about the Jackson 5 and the Silvers and all of these things, Shalimar and all of that. You were reading this magazine. And once you read it, you was like, you know Michael Jackson. You know this. You know. And so if you read the magazine and one of your friends didn't read it, then you could tell them, you could say, oh man, Michael Jackson has a doom buggy, or he has a mini bike, he has this, and he played at this, or he sung this song. And so they have that. This is something that they read in this magazine. And so now what happens is the internet says that this happened, but they're not seeing what happened before that, or what happened in the midst of that, or what happened while that was going on. And so now they come in. That's why it's so funny. I commend the ref all the time. He goes, stop cutting and pasting, because that's it. You'll say something to them, you'll ask them something, and then they'll Google and see what it says, and then they'll say exactly what the Google says. But how many times has Google been wrong? How many times? Because Google is just what people call in and give them information. That's what Google is. Google wasn't there at the party. Google wasn't there with Mario. Google wasn't there. They wasn't there. These are just people that people call and say, hey, yo, FaZe did a jam in Rosedale Park, and such and such happened. That was it. And so now the person that Googled FaZe was in the park, they're going to have that. But they don't say that FaZe played this record and this person danced, or FaZe, cut the music and said this or did that, or when FaZe was dropping something, it won't go into detail and be able to say that. And so that's the big problem, that they can't go into detail, and then because they can't go into detail, they don't know. And so that's why you guys be tearing them up. You'll be tearing them up, and I'll just be laughing. I just laugh so hard because they can't see what we see. They can't see it and they can't understand it the way you understand it. You could be from somewhere else. You could be from Philly, North Carolina, or whatever, and still know. You can. You can do research and see something on research and know, because one thing that makes you know is you know how you are. You know how you are. You know when you do the joints, whatever, you know how you bounce and you know how you do to the beat. And you know how you do that. But somebody that don't have that in them can't know what that is. They can't get that feeling. They can't feel it. They can't know what it is to say this or what the reaction is to say, because they didn't say it. They didn't feel that. And that's what I wanted to say about, what's going on and why these trolls are here and why they say what they say is because they're only getting, and by the time most of them, by the time they get it, it's like fourth, fifth generation information. Basically, if they run in to get something, that somebody told somebody, and somebody told them, and somebody told them, and somebody told them, they wouldn't have to ask. They wouldn't have to ask the questions that they ask. Now, I'm not saying it's wrong. I ask questions. I ask questions, but the questions that they ask, if you give them the answer and they don't understand the answer, they can't believe it. And that's what it is. Okay, I see. I got a lot of comments. So because I said I was only going to stay an hour. Y'all know the game comes on tonight. So first I know we got to get rid of the shout outs. All right. Okay, so I gave the shout out to Riri, oh man, I love her so much. And Mean Princess, okay, she's in the building. I know Derek Falkus is in the building, peace. Now, this is funny. This is so funny. I got to say this, and I'm going to put it up. I'm going to put this up. Now, oh God, I'm laughing for a certain reason. All right, I want you guys to tell me who this is, because I think they said, this is just what I'm only going by, what I think they said. I think that Princess says Derek Pease. So if that is him, then brother, you don't have to. Now, brother, I gotta remember I said until I hear that change, I'm not gonna call you brother. So if that is you, you don't have to do that. You don't have to come as anything other than who you really are. You don't have to do that anymore. We already established that. You don't have to do that. Come as you are, but just come correct. Come correct. Don't try to be something that you're not. Don't do that. Okay, Gary's Garage. Peace. What's up? Says, what's up, family? Okay. We got China Black in the building. All right. Where's China Black at? China Black says, what's up, Riri? Okay. Oh, we got Mighty Hebrew. Hey, Mighty, what's good? You here? Peace. Shalom. Yes, says he's here. Okay, I'm glad to see you. Glad to see you. Okay. JG in the building. See, my family is strong. And we goes in. Okay. Oh, here we go. Ref is here. Says he's mobile. I'm here. Well, if you mobile, just just slow the skateboard down. And pull the skateboard over. Just make sure the foot hits the ground, and come talk to us, man. Come talk to us, man. Be unmobile. I love that guy, man. I love that guy, Rev. That's my man for real, for real. Oh, Tyreek is here. Look. Peace, peace to everybody. Okay. All right. Now let's look and see. Oh, Matt, this is another one. Okay, good. I'm glad Wisdomatic Mastodon in the building. What up, DJ? What's good with you? Everything good? All right. Okay. Shout out to DJ Faze now mobile, but in the building. Shout out to the chat. So he said, now this, I want to tell you, if you're still listening, Ref, that was excellent. That was excellent. That was excellent. Your video, it was excellent. And one of the things that made it excellent for me was people got a chance to see exactly what I was talking about as far as the beat and the break and how they posed and how they did it. And so now the ones that you showed or whatever, yes, they were Puerto Rican. And you saw how they look at what we do and they listen to what we say, and then they try to emulate it. But it doesn't work because you saw that it was scripted. It was like scripted. Like they would like said, okay, say this word. Say this, say this was fresh. It was scripted. And so we see that, and we know we never read off of any script. We always did what we did the way we did it. You want to see a dead body? Look at graffiti. Oh God. Oh God! Hey, so did you see the Adidas and the Pumas? Okay. And so when we were rocking them, yes, I had PF Flyers. They were really before PF Flyers. They were PF Goodrich. Okay, they were Goodrich. And then it was PF Flyers. So yes, I wore them. And right after PF Flyers, I went into Keds. And then I went into Pro Keds. From there, Pro Keds, I think the next pair of, I did have Suede Pro Keds. And then from Suede Pro Keds, I started wearing all leather sneakers and stuff. So I went from Pro Keds and Super Pro Keds. I went to Suede Pro Keds, Vinyl Pro Keds. And then I went to, I think I had Adidas first before I had Pumas. Yeah, I think I had Adidas first. Then I had the Pumas. And when I got the Pumas, at first they had just maybe 2 or 3 colors. But then when Clyde got his, when they came out with the Clydes, then there was the different suede colors. There was the green, there was the blue, there was the black, there was the blue and red, There was the gold color ones. Um, yeah, that's where it went, and then from there, I just took off. I got Bally's. I just took off. So yes, that's what it was. Everyone says peace to the chat. What up, scoreboard? Peace to the God. Okay. Hold on. All right. All right. Okay, Pumas were so bad, so cheaply made that used to get three holes in the back. So I was a bum, so I couldn't afford new sneakers. So I had to clean mine until they were wore out. Now I'm glad you said that, and I'm really glad you said that. And I'm the reason why I'm saying that you're glad that you said that. See, as I was telling you guys, when these sneakers first come out, they're what you can call the real ones. After a company sees that they're making money, that they're making progress with these sneakers, then they downsize and they go from making them and paying their workers a certain amount to going to places like China, Indonesia, India, Vietnam. You know, so you remember when they said the slum shops and stuff like that. So the sneaker actually becomes more cheaper and more cheaper in price. And that's when people get so upset with me when I state the facts. A lot of reasons why Puerto Ricans and Jamaicans don't believe as kids we did so much is because when they were kids, and even till today, when they talk about the South Bronx and they talk about how they had to live in this and live in that and lived in tenement buildings and stuff, that's a reality for them. That's reality. There were more Puerto Ricans and Islanders in tenement buildings than anybody. You could find like at all around Hoe Avenue and all 170, 160 some street, all of those burnt out buildings. You could go in the building and see families living, no electric, candles, no nothing, and kids would go to school like that, and they would have roaches in their clothing, or might even have a mouse or something in their clothing, and some of the kids were chewed up by mice and rats and stuff. And so at that time, it was unfathomable to think, well, somebody got on nice clothes, or someone's wearing cologne to school, or someone has jewelry or something. So when they were able to buy these things, once they were able to buy these things, it was like you couldn't tell them anything. They got this cheap pair of Pumas, and so now they're cool and they're going to wear those Pumas, and so we understand what it is to actually have something until it goes holy. That we understand that. But you can't be mad at the kids that didn't experience that. You can't be mad at me because I went out and I made a certain amount of money a day as a kid, and I was able to buy Every sneaker that they had, every sneaker that I wanted, I bought. Everything I had, and plus, like I said, my parents were not regular parents. They were professionals, and so I had a lot of stuff, and a lot of kids that was with me, had stuff too, and so it's not hard to understand why we did the things that we did, because we were not in a abandoned building. We went to school every year. We had brand new clothes to go to school. We never really wore the same thing in a week. We never did that. There were some kids that I knew that wore something the same thing the whole school year. It was how many times people know that it'll be freezing cold, snowing, and they don't have a jacket. Somebody doesn't have a jacket, or good shoes or something like that. And we've seen that. And back in those days, those people were Puerto Ricans. And that's it. That's a fact. We saw more Puerto Ricans like that than what we were. So that's why it was so crazy to us. Like, yo, how are you wearing the same thing over and over and over? Meanwhile, we got different jackets, different coats, different, sneakers, different boots, different shoes, different pants, different shirts, all the time. I remember, and this is just pure facts, and this is not by myself, we would wear something. Let's say if I got on Billy the Kid top and bottom, right? I got on a Billy the Kid top and bottom. Now I'll wear this maybe for assembly or something, but then I'm not gonna wear it no more until something else is or whatever. And there were some kids that couldn't do that. They would wear for assembly the next day, and we did this, color guard, went on a trip, did that, or whatever. I, in school, and not just me, so don't just think about me. For a class trip, come on, have money and a new outfit. Money in my pocket to buy whatever you want to buy at the museum or circus or wherever we went. You have money, make sure you have money in your pocket to buy for you and your girl, right? The one that you hold in your hands with, right? And so a lot of Puerto Ricans could not do that. I used to feel so sorry for this guy named Jose. Jose was very, very poor. And he would be the first one. Like, I never went to get the lunches from, or the breakfast from school. I never went and did that. So I didn't know. But he would be there getting breakfast, and he would take lunchtime. He would take stuff and put it like in a bag or his lunch can or whatever and take it home. And we were always wondering, well, why is he taking this food home? Or if we went on a trip, he could never go, or he could, if he did go, if he did get the permission slip to go, he could never buy nothing. And we used to just like so bad. But now when we realize it, it was because his family was so poor. And that's what the meaning of living in the South Bronx was. That was the meaning of living in the South Bronx, in a tenement building, in a building that was condemned. So trust me and believe. Don't feel bad. Paul Roberts is here. Okay, what's good? Graffiti Rock only had one episode. For real? You gotta be kidding. Paul, are you serious? Yo, put a one in the chat if that's a fact that Graffiti Rock only had one episode. Please put a one in the chat, you guys. Put a one in the chat because I didn't research that. So Graffiti Rock only had one episode. Wow. Wow, that's crazy. Oh man, I gotta look at the ones. Oh my goodness. Wow. Okay, scorekeeper said Electro. Now, let's look at that. Let's look at that. Electro. So remember, you guys, when I told you that the drum machine was incorporated. Some of the records had went straight from drums and instruments to maybe a keyboard and a drum machine. So in that particular saying, electric is probably the closest to what Yesterday were doing. And so electric break sounds totally different than like a James Brown break. So the timing is different. And so these people, like I said, they have a pink timing. And so their timing is totally different. So yes, you can consider what they were doing electro. I give it to you. You can say that it's electro. Okay, let's see what Paul says. Graffiti Rock's host Michael Hallman was a film student from San Francisco. He got into electro PR breaking through Keith Haring and Jean Baptiste, Hallman's Downtown Village voice alphabet artist. Wow. See, that connection, and I'm not gonna lie. That connection really messed up a lot of things for hip hop. It did. Because, see, oh man, how can I say it? People don't realize that whole village scene was the worst for us. Like, we would never just go and that wasn't us. The sound, the feel, the everything was just not us. And so getting a chance for them to see it, oh man, it was bad. It was bad. Superstar Rel, what's good? Peace. Wow. I didn't know that though. I did not know that they only had one. So that's definitely a good point to say that it was. So now that we look at it like that, why do they call it breakdancing? What in this electro beat is actually the break? Think about it. Listen, go back to that one episode and listen to when they were doing what they were doing. And then go back and listen to what me and Young Black was dancing to. Go back and listen. Listen to that. You know, listen to it, and that's not the break. That's not the break. That's not when all the music, all the other instruments stop, and the drums go. None of that happened that whole entire time. If you look at Run DMC, because you know they had to change a couple of the lyrics and stuff. If you look at Kumo D, and when you look at them, they were so uncomfortable because they had a script. They had a script to perform. They had to take out words, put in words. They couldn't curse. They couldn't feel. So they were just doing it. And I'm going to tell you, you were saying about them doing the thumb. If you listen, just listen to the scratches, none of them was on time because there was nothing that could happen. There was nothing that he could scratch to. See, on a break, you know, so this continuous beat had nothing. That's why he was just not on beat or anything, because he had no beat to catch. You understand that? And that's a big difference. Just listen to those scratches. He was not coordinated. He wasn't doing anything on time. He was just making the record go back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. And that's it. That's all he was doing. A baby could have did that. A baby could have put his hand on the record and just go, and that's it. So go listen to when somebody cut up Catch a Groove or something with the beat, or I Can't Stop. And so that whole thing is scripted. They just tell you, just make sure you do some scratches. Make sure you do this. Make sure that you don't curse. Make sure you do this. Make sure you put your hair like this, because that's cool. That's why when I was talking about the Olympics and what they were doing, you have to understand that the judges and the choreographers will say that you get points for doing what this is. So if they say spin around, then you spin around, and so that's a point. So you don't have to have music, but you have to spin around. Your footwork just got to be moving, just moving, and you get a point for that, but not to the beat. So who are the judges to say that this is how we broke dance? They can't. They can't. We made up our moves as we went. Weren't choreographed. Now, sometimes, a lot of times, we'll do a move that we did already, but the basis of what we were doing is showing something new. Driving the car. You know what I mean? And so that was something new. Baseball bat. All right? Something new. So how can a judge say, oh, you didn't do this spin, or you didn't do that, because maybe that's not what how we rocking it. And so that's what you have to look for, people. You have to look for who's judging it, who's doing it. And that's why when you look at Rocksteady, all of those, the crews or whatever, look at what they're doing. They all start with the back and forth because they're getting ready to go into a flip or something to go down to the floor. So that back and forth that they're doing, it ain't to the beat. It's just, they'll just start doing it, and then go to the floor. What they were doing was electro, and it can't function in the same room as real culture. Graffiti rock was perfect example of it. Okay. All right. Listen, guys, I really only wanted to stay for an hour, but I went over. So I have to get ready for this. I will be DJing the after party after the Knicks win. So I'll be doing that. But I just wanted you guys to come and see. I didn't really go in the way that I should have and wanted to. And oh, look, see, Princess knows. Ref said it the other day. I forget what he said. He was still, but now remember, if we put on a slow jam, and that, oh my goodness, slow jamming with that, rocking with that girl and smelling her perfume and moving, and oh man, and these parties don't have it. It seems like they're too cool to have fun. That's what these parties do. These parties, they're too cool to have fun. Now, I could understand being too cool to break dance, to getting your clothes dirty, to just doing moves on a woman. That's too cool. I'm too cool to do that. But I'm not too cool to slow dance, or I'm not too cool to, get that number or whatever I have now because I'm too old. But when parties were parties, And so I think that's what it is. That's why these girls can leave a man so easy. The love part of our culture is gone. We used to put cologne on our clothes so that the girl went home, that she would smell like us. Right. They don't do that anymore. They don't do that. It's hard, man. It's really hard. Oh, wow. Let's see what Riri said. Riri said, Red Bull competitions do break dancing. I know about dancing in general. I've been in the dance scene since young. Okay. Well, listen. Princess, we need to stop calling what these people are doing as breakdancing. We have to stop. Because When is the last time you saw a dancer dance from a break? When is the last time you seen a dancer dance to the actual break? They even stopped doing it to Apache. Apache was one of the most known breaks in existence. And they stopped doing it to Apache. So you have to wonder, where did this element go to? What is the name of what they're doing? Because if they don't have to do it to the break and they could do it to the whole part of the record, why is it called breakdancing? If somebody can answer that for me, please put it in the chat now. I'll go all the way down to your answer right now. If they don't have to dance to the actual break of the record, why is it called breakdancing? Please, somebody put that in the chat. Ref, JG, Princess, China Black, Riri, somebody, Paul, somebody put in the comments right now, if they don't have to dance to the break, how can it be called break dancing? That's it. That's all I want to know. So I'll go all the way down to it. So I see I got new comment, right? Now look. Okay, now look at this. Look at this. People, do you see this? Do you see this? Do you see this? People, I'm gonna keep it up there for a minute till I want you to look at this. Now, I guarantee you that this person has more than one name. I guarantee you that this person right here has more than one name. I guarantee it. Phase, yep, they lived by that flyer, but they don't talk about the specific flyer anymore. Exactly. Because we busted that. We bust that wide open, Princess. And so now watch. See, this is the beginning of their end in hip hop. This is it. This is the beginning of their end. Because just like with Scorekeepers and Truth Saver, Bastetto and Akeem, they can't get around it anymore. They can't. Hold on. I'm getting ready to get something. Hold on. They can't get around what they have lied about. They can't get around it anymore. So it becomes more and more of a threat to them because they can't lie anymore. Too many people are watching their lies. Too many people are watching all of the names that they come up with. Too many people are coming, are looking and saying, well, wait a minute, this guy said this as this person, this guy said this as another person, this guy said, and on and on and on and on and on. So they're not able to keep up the lie. Look at JG. He talking about the school lunch. Okay, look. It doesn't get any lower than living in the projects. What doesn't get any lower than living in the projects? Okay. All right. So let me. This is probably one of them. Okay. So first of all, the projects in the 70s, in the 60s, had pink professional people there. That's number one thing. Our Bronxdale, we had gardens. We had chain link fences, chains, to where you couldn't get in the grass, keep off the grass. Our elevators and hallways and staircases were cleaned 2 times a day. We had a fire incinerator. So there was no garbage out. We had landscapers that come and cut our grass. Our apartments were painted every 3 years, sometimes 2 if you request it. So for you to say it's not living, it's any lower than living in the projects, there were tenement buildings burnt out, had no water, had no heat, had no electricity, had no one to clean up the shit and the piss and the rats and the roaches and all of that in tenement buildings. None of that. Dope fiends would go into the tenement buildings, overdose, and be there for months. On the roofs, in the staircase. Dope fiends would overdose, be dead. And families would have to walk over them because they couldn't call the police. Because if they can't call the police, they would have to get out of the building because the building is evacuated. It's condemned. So for anybody that says it doesn't get any lower than living in the projects, proves exactly what you probably read. Because if you experienced it, you would know that moving from a tenement building to the projects in those days was a step up, a giant step up. So for comments like this makes us know that you have no idea about what you're talking about. You have absolutely no idea what you're talking about, because if I'm looking at this right, it says it doesn't get any lower than living in the projects. So what doesn't get any lower? If you're so much into what you're saying, answer that. Put it in the comments right now what it is that doesn't get any lower than living in the projects. See, and this is exactly what I'm talking about. People, family, can you see what I'm talking about? Do you understand what I'm talking about now? Is it clear now exactly what I'm talking about? And so, when I don't like using the word majority, but I can say this, that anybody that was just okay, not saying rich, not saying middle class, not saying any of that, was not living in a tenement or abandoned building. That's a fact. And if you came out of a tenement building and you were placed in the projects, you better believe that that's you experiencing heat, hot water, cold water, electric. You can have a TV. You can have a closet. We had washing machine, dryer all our whole lives. So for you to say that just shows, and you're probably one of those people that like brag and say, "Oh, I lived in the South Bronx. I lived in this, so I'm rough and I'm tough because I lived in the South Bronx." How can you be rough and tough if you ain't have no food to nourish yourself? That's just me snapping. I would just get snap a little bit, okay? But you ain't even have a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, and you talk about you rough. No nourishment, no vegetables, no proteins, no nothing. All right. Oh God. Okay, I'm gonna stop. I promise I'm gonna stop. Oh God. Okay. All right. So he didn't come back. Well, I don't see if anybody's seen what he said about what is better than there's our king. There he is. I thought maybe he wasn't a real DJ. I don't know. Well, yeah. It was scripted. I put it that way. It was scripted. Okay, but I don't see where this guy comes back that said that. Okay. Right. Okay. Rough. Okay. No. See, I ain't got to say nothing because I know exactly what I'm talking about. Rough and hungry. Diabolical. Remember the Tang sandwich? Why is he so pissed? Oh, yeah. Oh, God. Oh, God. You know what I'm saying? Oh, my God. Oh, wow. Okay. See. Hold on. Says Faze, I seen a comment like that saying Bronxdale was nice. The people were not tough, and that's not what KRS was rapping about. He was rapping about the South Bronx. Well, let me tell you something about Bronxdale. All right. Number one thing about Bronxdale was we were surrounded from some of the most racist people in New York. And when I say in New York, I mean in New York. Okay, we were surrounded by Italians. What are the other ones? The Italians, the Irish, Greeks, and they were the most, if you look at the Hell's Angels, a lot of their chapters was right around Bronxdale. Hell's Angels, the motorcycle gang. We had the most corrupt police departments right there. We had the most, we had the most, say, crime because we were right close to the South Bronx. So at some parts, the South Bronx was just maybe over a little walkover bridge. So we had Italians, Irish coming at us with chains and bats, adults as kids. So we became rough because we had to survive. We had to survive. Imagine walking to school. Just think about it. You're a kid. And some adult comes with a chain or a baseball bat or a knife coming towards you. If you ain't know how to fight, you're just going to get hit with the bat, hit with the chain, hit with the knife. Simple. Because running, by the time you get up the block, somebody coming out of the opposite way down the block. So the most of the time, we had to fight our way out. And we had to know some moves that could critically hurt someone to stop them. And that's facts. That's just facts. So if you look at the high school, the junior high school or the elementary school that I went to, you'll see it was dead right in the center of Italians and Irish. Right in the middle, in the center. So fighting every day was nothing. We began to like it. Keep it real. And if you don't believe me, ask somebody. Ask somebody who was there. Ask about the Golden Guineas and all of that. The Aces. Ask them about them. Hell's Angels. And they'll tell you. So once again, what's the matter, Princess? China, I can't stand that guy. It's about three of them that get on my nerves instantly. I can imagine who they are. Who are they? Who are they, Princess? Who are they? Who are they? Let's rip them up right now. Who are they? Who are they? I guarantee that one, if I go back up and I look, okay, this somebody says, let me speak. Let me speak on this. What are you gonna speak on? Okay. Princess, tell me who you're talking about. Tell me who you talk about, Princess. Okay. Yeah, that guy's not gonna. He's right. Okay, yeah. Okay. Well, they probably are. They just have a different name. But anyway, okay, that's it. I gotta go. It's 2 hours. I gotta go. It's getting ready to be the game. So I gotta go. Peace and love, everybody. I'm not even gonna do all that other stuff. Yes. Thank you, Riri. Thank you so much. Let's see what happens. Let's see what they're gonna do. Let's see, Riri. Let's see what they're gonna do. They're gonna hit that Cash App. They're gonna hit that PayPal. We're gonna see what they're gonna do. All right. So that's what I gotta say. Good night. Go Knicks. Go Knicks. Go Knicks. Peace.
Colonel Jessup, did you order the code red?
You don't have to answer that question.
I'll answer the question. You want answers?
I think I'm entitled.
You want answers?
I want the truth.
You can't handle the truth.
Colonel Jessup, did you order the code red?
You don't have to answer that question.
I'll answer the question. You want answers?
I think I'm entitled.
You want answers?
I want the truth.
You can't handle the truth.